Welcome back to More View Music, where I'm trying to help you get the most out of the gear you've got or are going to get. Because let's face it, we all love gear, so I'm sure there'll be some more coming soon. So it's time for me to wrap this up, because I've had a few weeks playing with my Vintage V120, and I'm delighted with the outcomes. So let's go through a few criteria, and between the Vintage, between that and the Gibson and the Eastman, let's decide which is the best out of the three now that we've done all that work. First of all then, which one sounds the best? At the end of the day, this is a musical instrument. It's got to sound the best. Out of the three, there's no question for me. The best one is the Vintage V120. And here are some playing samples that I think prove that. Which one looks the best? Playing the electric guitar is a lot to do with what it looks like on stage, and I think it's highly subjective. I think the Vintage V120 looks pretty good now that I've maybe roughed it up a little bit and it's got a few of its edges sanded down, that sort of thing. But let's face it, it's never going to look as good as the other two. I think the best of the three is the Eastman. The antique finish on those guitars is absolutely stellar, and I think it's by far and away the best looking of the three. Which one plays the nicest? Again, this is quite subjective, and it depends on what you like. I find the Gibson to have quite a chunky neck, and some people like that and some people don't. I'm on the camp that says I prefer a slightly thinner neck. It's going to be different for everybody, but for me, the other two are nicer to play. And the way I've set it up at the moment, that the Vintage is just perfect. So I'm going to give this one to the Vintage. It is the best to play of the three. Which one smells the best? Slightly weird criteria, this one. Until you've opened up a Gibson case where you get that lovely, almost lavendery smell of the guitar coming out of the box. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. You may not know, but my goodness, the thing smells good. So that's the win for the Gibson. It smells the best. We obviously had some pretty important scientific criteria there. Ultimately, the biggest difference between these three guitars is what they cost. The Gibson brand new, I think, goes for about £1,500, as does the Eastman. I think they're about the same. You can pick them both up second hand somewhere below £1,000, but still quite a lot of money. The Vintage, on the other hand, you can pick those up for between £100 and £200, and then with about £100 worth of upgrades, you can end up with an absolutely superb guitar without any really specialist skills. So when it comes to value for money, there is no contest. The Vintage is obviously the best value for money. However, is it the one I'd want to keep the most? Probably not. I think it's between the Gibson and the Eastman. The Eastman is just such a wonderful guitar, even though its sound quality isn't right at the moment. It's an absolutely stunning piece of craftsmanship. And the Gibson, well, it's a Gibson. That perhaps shouldn't matter as much as it does, but it matters. So yeah, which ones would I keep? Well, I'm going to struggle to let any of them go, but I think the Eastman probably on balance is the one I'd keep if I could only keep one. Why doesn't the Eastman sound very good? Hopefully you heard on the sound samples there that the Eastman sounds very thin and really not like a P90 at all. It seems to be missing something. Now the reason for that, I think, is because somebody has put a tone bleed circuit on the volume pot, and for me it kills it. It takes all the life out of it. So I'm going to take that out and I'm going to rewire it how I've wired this one, with the 50s wiring, because then there's absolutely no reason why it should sound any different from this one, which currently sounds an awful lot better. I think the Gibson had quite a dark tone to it, especially as you roll the volume down, and that's probably because it's not wired with 50s wiring, and that's a subjective thing. Some people like it to roll off a bit on tone as you get quieter, but it has a lovely fat sound as the Gibson, whereas the Lola is a slightly thinner sound in general, but quite a bright sound. But yeah, the Eastman ought to sound an awful lot better than it does. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've got something from it. If you have, then please give the video a like, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next one.